Hi, and welcome to Nevaeh's Nightmare. And on this episode, we are going to be interviewing with the one and only Katie of the Night. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm known as Katie of the Night here on YouTube.
And Katie does movie reviews and is she does little tours of her home. I watched them. I watched all your little tours. They were very. You have a very interesting home. I love it. So I've noticed that the genre of movie that you cover a lot is giallo.
Yes,
What is that?
it is an Italian genre
Okay.
originating in the 1960s-ish, and it's
Yeah.
kind of a broad spectrum, but it's basically best described as murder, mystery, crime, horror
Okay.
kinds of movies. There's usually a mystery. A lot of it is like, who is the killer? Kind of like
Okay.
slashers.
Okay. And if they're older movies, where do you get your sources from?
When I first started and watching in 2020, Amazon
Mhm.
Prime had a
Mm.
lot streaming.
Mhm.
That has since changed. But
Okay.
right now, my favorite sources are Tubi
Okay.
and
So he's a good one.
Shudder. Shudder
Shutter is a
has
good one.
a Giallo like gallery. I don't know what
Really?
you call it.
So when you go on streaming services, if you just look up giallo, will it just pull up the movies, or do you need to know the name of the movie?
Sometimes when you pull up Giallo, you'll
Mhm.
get a few,
Okay.
especially on Shudder. I think Shudder is pretty good about that.
Okay.
Um, Otherwise, you got to know the name. And
Okay.
where I find the names is Wikipedia. They have a
Okay.
list of 274 titles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shudder is one of the few streaming services I have not gotten to use. I've used Tubi. I'm a frequent Tubi user,
I love
but
Tubi.
not Shudder. Um, so what's your what appeals you to the movies?
That's a great question because they're not for everybody.
Mhm.
I think part of first of all, you kind of have to be someone who likes bad movies or low budget movies.
Okay.
And when it comes to Giallo, the golden age was the 70s. So
Mhm.
there's the 70s aesthetic is just
Yeah.
fantastic. The fashion, the decor,
Mhm.
um, that makes up a large part of why I think people like the genre.
Mhm.
Just the 60s and the 70s being
Yeah.
the golden age and just that aesthetic.
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
is there any newer modern movies that would fall into the category?
Yeah. Um, People in the Jolly community talk about that a lot. A lot of
Mhm.
people say that Malignant is like a new uh, form of a Jollo. I wasn't really watching looking for that, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I couldn't finish it. Which it's pretty saddening. I was so excited and I couldn't finish it.
It
It
was weird.
it was one of those weird movies that you're just kind of like, "Huh, what did I watch?"
Like, this isn't the 80s anymore.
No,
Maybe in the 80s I would have
I
they could
honestly
pull it off.
think the little being in the beginning that jumped up and was like, "Ah!" I think that was the part where I was like, "Okay, I'm not interested anymore. This is bad." Um, I have also heard that you have made a horror movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my husband and I, have been what's the word? Dabbling in
Mhm.
filmmaking, and so we've been messing around with doing no budget horror short films.
Okay.
We've made 4 actually,
Ooh.
um, and they're pretty much I think they're all inspired by the paranormal.
Mhm.
That's really where we're getting our inspiration from.
Is there any, specific movies that have you've brought an inspiration from?
Mm. Um, well, we made a found footage movie,
Mhm.
so and it takes place in the woods,
Mhm.
so I'm sure we're at the very least inspired by Blair Witch
I was
Project.
just say The Blair Witch. Okay.
Um, and no other influences were very, like, intentional. There's
Mhm.
probably
It's just
It's
kinda like, "Oh, that's cool." It's
yeah.
a little dabble of it.
Yeah.
So what are the, like, names of the movies?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, we are calling our organization
Mhm.
Laughing Windows Productions.
Okay.
That's what we're listed on YouTube.
Okay.
Our our first film was called Stairs to Nowhere,
Ooh.
and it was kind of inspired by the missing time phenomenon.
Okay.
And then the second one is called It Stares Back, and it was
Okay.
shot right here in this room.
We love to see it. I love
Um,
being in the set.
and that film was partly inspired by The Ring, I guess you could say, because it has a cursed video in it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the third one is called Devil's Tree, and that was our found footage one.
Mhm.
And the last one was just a 3-minute short, and we
Okay.
called it Sleep Sweet.
Ooh,
Kind of a sleep paralysis movie, honestly.
that's interesting, and the episode that we're recording kinda has to do with sleep paralysis.
Weird.
Yeah. Um, so I watched one of your videos, today, and it was one of your more recent ones where you were talking about, just movies that you've watched, like, this month or last month. Um, you watch a lot of movies, like, an insane amount of movies. I
Yeah,
and you were like, "I don't want this video to be too long." I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's 25 minutes," and she's just moving. And I was kinda curious as to, like, where do you write all of the movies that you wanna watch down? And where do you, like, see them? Where do you, like, find the movie?
great question. So, um, I've started making like a list for myself of
Mhm.
things I want to hit on every month. I don't really know where all this comes from. I really don't know. I guess
Mhm.
a lot of it comes from recommendations that people give me. Like
Mhm.
on in the comment section of videos
Mhm.
like that, they'll be like, "Oh, well you should watch this if you like this."
Mhm.
And you just kind of start following this thread and one thing leads to another. Another
Mhm.
thing that I do is if I see a movie that has an actor I like, I'll go and see what other movies that
Yeah.
actor has been in,
Yeah.
and it's just this path of exploration. Sometimes it's wandering, sometimes it's intentional.
Yeah. I also noticed that you watch more than just the giallo movies. You watch I think you said something about a Lifetime movie?
Yes, I love Lifetime movies.
I remember watching the Lifetime movies when I was, like, little, but it was, like, the mystery ones,
Oh
and
yeah.
I watched this one, and I honestly couldn't tell you the name of it. I just remember it was about a girl, like, getting kidnapped and living as, like, a 1950s housewife with, like, this husband, and he was her, like, kidnapper, and there was another woman, and that was, like, genuinely one of the best, like, mystery or thriller movies I've seen, but it was a Lifetime movie. And you brought up Lifetime, and I was like, "Hmm,
They
might have
do a good
to"
job sometimes, and then
sometimes.
sometimes they do a terrible job, but that's also pretty
Mhm.
entertaining.
You get around to their Christmas stuff, and you're like, "Okay, I'm done." You it just gets disappointing again.
I know, I
Um,
tried 5
what?
Lifetime Christmas movies last year. It was a
My
challenge for myself.
my grandmother starts watching the Christmas movies, like, in July when they do the Christmas in July stuff, and
Ooh.
they, like, start playing Christmas movies, like, in the beginning of July. My grandmother did that last year. She started in July, and she didn't stop until they quit showing the Lifetime Christmas movies.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, hmm. So, what is your, like what draws you to, like, just movies, and specifically the genre of giallo movies?
Well, when I was growing up, we weren't
Mhm,
really a movie watching family.
mhm.
We and I wasn't allowed to watch anything that was PG-13 or up.
Felt that.
I mean, I watched the Disney movies and stuff,
Yeah.
but, so I don't know why I started getting into horror and all of that, but it's really been since about 2020 that I took my movie exploration really seriously.
Mhm.
most of the like standard movies that everyone has seen, I haven't seen. I
I get
mean,
that.
I haven't seen Titanic, I haven't seen Star Wars, I haven't seen Predator.
I haven't seen Star Wars or Predator. I've seen Titanic. I just recently watched Titanic again, which kind of startled me when you said you didn't see it, but I've never
It's
seen
so
Predator.
weird.
I've never seen Star Wars. I've never seen Harry Potter, and I don't intend on ever watching Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh.
So
So
I
you
felt
get
that.
it.
I get that to a very far extent. I've also watched a good handful of, like, my weird movies, probably more than I would like to attest for, but yeah, I understand the not watching any of the movies that everyone else is saying.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people try to fix me, you know, like, "Oh, you
Mhm.
haven't seen anything. Well, let me show you this, let me show you this."
Yeah, you have to watch it, and you're just like, "I don't get the hype."
So, but my friend showed me
Mhm.
Dario Argento's Suspiria,
Okay.
and the even though it's not a giallo according to most people,
Mhm.
it is like a gateway movie for a lot of folks because then they'll wanna see other movies that
Mhm.
Argento has made, and then they kinda get introduced
Yeah.
into giallo. So, Suspiria is very bloody and
Mhm.
stylized, and
Okay.
that's what gets a lot of people into the genre because it's so, like, extra.
Yeah. So is that, like, a genre that you would say you would lean towards as, like, the more bloody side of things? The more
S
disturbing? 'Cause I noticed that also when you talk about your movies is that the ending kinda always is more disturbing or different than the rest of the movie.
Yes, twist endings and
Mhm.
surprise endings.
Yeah.
Giallo can range from being a soap opera drama
Mhm.
to being a straight up horror.
Yeah.
Um, it's actually pretty broad. It just basically has to involve some sort of mystery to it. But
Yeah.
it does. Some of them do get pretty disturbing and bloody,
Yeah.
but not always in a realistic way. It's more of in like an artistic way.
Okay. Um, the video that I watched today, I hadn't heard of any of the movies that you were talking about other than one, and it was this is so embarrassing to say. The one movie that I knew of, I haven't seen, but I knew of and I've heard of was the one with the corpse on the front and it started with necro. I don't
Oh,
remember what it was called. Ugh.
necromantic.
Yes, I've heard of that one. Uh, I kinda wanna know about it because I wanna watch it, but I need to know more.
Yeah, for sure. So, a lot of us have heard of that movie because
Yeah.
we click on YouTube videos that are like, "The 5 most disturbing movies ever," or
Yeah,
whatever.
I think that's probably where I've heard it from, to be honest.
Me too. And I had watched reviews and read about it for a
Mhm.
while, and then I was finally like, "Let's watch it."
Yeah.
It's like it's not too terrible,
Mhm.
except for the ending. The ending is disturbing and disgusting. But there's also a little bit of animal cruelty in the movie. I think that's what
Mhm.
puts a lot of people off, but it's just
Yeah.
very, experimental and slimy. The movie, I mean.
I will keep
Um,
that in mind. Slimy.
and
Okay.
then the ending is kinda like, "Okay, I
Okay.
just watched that."
That's kinda how I felt about watching the VHS tapes. I was just like, "Okay, this is weird, but
I
okay."
haven't seen it. I know I
It's
need to.
there's 3. I watched 2 of them. I haven't watched all 3 of them. I watched the first one and what I think was the second one. It was, like, VHS 1984 or something like that. It had
Yeah.
this, like, rat character in it. He was like a weird demon that lived in the sewers that looked like a rat. But that was a movie that, like, all the videos that I watched of yours, whenever you talked about other movies, it reminded me of the VHS tapes. Just, like, the little things you would say about each one, it reminded me of the VHS tapes. And I was like, "Okay, when I have an interview with her, I need to tell her to watch the VHS tapes."
Yeah, people talk about it talk about them a lot, I just haven't gotten around to it.
They're interesting. I genuinely don't know if I like or dislike them.
Weird. That makes me
The
wanna watch it.
They're scary, but they're weird. They're like a
Mm.
weird type of scary. You're like, "Should I be scared or should I just accept this?" So something else that I noticed that I kind of texted you about was all of your posters. You have so
Yes.
many, and I need to know what they are.
Yeah, so back when metal magazines were still in print, they
Mhm.
used to come with posters and
Mhm.
compilation CDs inside.
Mhm.
And when I would buy a magazine, I'd be really excited if a band I actually liked was on the poster.
Mhm.
So some of the posters back there include Gorgoroth,
Okay.
Death,
Okay.
Carcass,
Okay.
Belphegor. We have Carpathian Forest, um, Morbid Angel, and of
Oh,
course,
Morbid Angel.
hold on, Typo Negative right
I
here.
love Typo Negative. Ugh, Typo Negative's so good.
This was a late era. I don't know. This maybe was a 2008
Mhm.
poster. Um, and that was like the tail end of these
Yeah.
magazines.
My grandmother has a few, like, old Fangoria comics, and sometimes I'll, like, break into her closet and read them,
Oh my
but
gosh, your grandma sounds cool.
she she's not, but I don't know why she has those. My grandmother's not that type of person, but she has Fangoria magazines, and she's just like, "Look, these are scary. I think you'll like them." Like, thanks.
I got to see Typo Negative live in concert in 2007.
I will never have that opportunity.
I know I hate that. But it was my first it was my first concert really.
Mhm,
I was in college and I wasn't like allowed to do that much, but in college I
mhm.
convinced my dad to take me to Typo Negative in Atlanta.
My senior year of high school was my first concert I had ever been to, and it was Black Veil Brides, Ice Nine Kills, and Motionless in White. And then I have so many concerts lined up now that it's kind of crazy, but it's fine.
It gets addicting.
It really does, especially when they start pumping out like really good festivals and you're like, I don't have the money for this, and then you find ways to get the money to go to the festivals
That's right.
anyways.
You gotta find a way.
Ugh, I mean, anything to see Pantera and Avenged Sevenfold in the same day. So
Festivals are so exhausting though.
I've never been to a festival.
Well, I've only been to one.
Mhm. Which one was it?
Um, it was called Scion Rock Fest, and because Scion, like the car, put on a metal festival. I don't know, but Neurosis, Pig Destroyer,
Oh my
Boris,
gosh.
Wolves in the Throne Room. There's a lot, but Neurosis was the headliner, and like it's just so exhausting.
I am going to Louder Than Life this year in Kentucky.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
So who all is in that?
Oh my goodness. There's so many. Give me 1 second to pull up the list.
Of
So,
course.
this year it's a 4-day weekend. Um, I'm not going the first or the fourth day because the first day there's only like I think 2 people that I would want to see, and
Good.
then
You
the
gotta
last
conserve your energy.
oh yeah, and I think the last day there's literally only like 1 person I want to see. Oh yeah, I lied. There's 2 people I would want to see the last day, and that's Green Day and Queens of the Stone Age. And other than that, there's no other people.
Oh, nice. I
Um,
love Queens of the what? Queens of the
so
Stone Age.
yeah, Queens of the Stone Age is good. I actually like just started listening to them. So September 21st, the Thursday, it's the openers are Foo Fighters, Weezer, and Rancid. 311.
Oh,
There's a bunch, Code Orange, and then a bunch of other ones that I don't know. And then the days that I'm going, which are Friday and Saturday, Tool, Godsmack, Limp Bizkit, Megadeth, Corey Taylor, Dance Gavin Dance, Bad Omens, Wage War, Avatar, Fever 333, Kitty, Miss May I, Flames
I
on
remember this now. Okay.
yeah, Dead Poet Society. And Saturday is Avenged Sevenfold, Pantera, Falling in Reverse, Pierce the Veil, Parkway Drive, Baby Metal, Asking Alexandra, Death Clock, The Amity Affliction, Memphis Mayfire, Suicide Silence, Sleep Token, Whitechapel, and just so much more.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm very excited for Saturday.
I
Saturday's
love
got
Limp
that
Biscuit.
Limp Bizkit's so it's just one of those days.
when you don't want to wake up. My
Um,
husband loves Falling in Reverse, so I listen to that guy
I'm
sometimes.
so 50-50 about Falling in Reverse.
He's
Like, I love Falling in Reverse and I hate him at the same time.
right.
I it's just something about Ronnie Radke makes me so angry, and I love him, but he makes
Right.
me so angry. And his, in my personal opinion, his last good song, other than his reimagined songs, like, his reimagined ones are really good, was, I'm blanking. The Popular Monster. That was the last one where I was like, "Yeah, this is a banger." And everything I've heard after, I've just been like, "Okay."
I've heard everything in not chronological order because it just
Yeah.
comes on my husband's playlist. So I
He
don't know.
Ronnie Radke is and Falling in Reverse is what I would split into 2 genres. We've got the emo, which was, like,
Mhm.
up until the, like, I wanna say 2017 era. I might be wrong, but around that time. And then after is just, like, metal rap, and not, like,
Yeah,
rap you hear
it's
on the radio.
he's very versatile. You gotta give him
Yeah,
that.
and I think that his last 3 songs, I honestly couldn't even tell you what they were called. I think that Zombified was pretty okay, and then the 2 that came after that were just not okay. Other than the, Papa Roach cover he just did, was it Last
Yeah,
Resort?
Zach, my husband made me listen to it.
I like it, but at the same time, I'm like, "Why would you cover Papa Roach and make it sad?"
It's like a Disney Prince covers
Yeah.
Papa Roach.
I'm like, "Cut my life into pieces." Like, I don't understand. It's like Prince Charming just came out of nowhere and started singing, but
Right.
it's okay. It's what Ronnie Radke wants.
And what he wants, he gets.
Yeah, apparently. Did you see that he, like, tattooed his like, all of his tattoos? Like, he's completely black out now. Like, even the tops, like, up to his fingernails are just black.
My husband told me about it, but I don't think I saw a picture or
Yeah,
anything.
Ronnie Radke, like, posted on his Instagram photos of his hands like this, and it was just, like, even up onto, like, around his fingernails was just tattooed black. I was like, "That
Ouch.
was so painful." I don't know why you did that, but, like, it's splotchy, which is probably not a nice thing to say because I imagine it'd be hard to get ink there, but,
Right.
like, at the same time, then why would you do it? Like, if you don't have anything there as it is. But to each their own. I'm just rocking.
Fair
Is
enough.
there any, like, newer metal bands that you listen to?
Hmm. Okay, yeah. I've been listening to this band called Black Braid.
Okay, I haven't heard of them.
It's they're Native American
Okay,
and it's black metal, but it's
okay.
like it sounds kind of like Wolves in the Throne Room, but it's very like
Mhm.
nature infused.
Ooh.
So Black Braid's a new current band that I'm proud of for, listening to someone new.
Veil of Maya is really good. I just recently started listening to them. Don't know what genre they would fall into. They're pretty good though. They've got like and I wouldn't necessarily say earthy because one of their albums is kind of like techie, like not like techno, but like they've got the little like zoop boop boop like sounds in the
Electronic
background.
sounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know, some like their newer music in like some of their albums, it's more natural, if that makes sense. Like it's natural guitar sounds, like it's not super intense, like aux
Oh.
adjustment stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know, it's good. You should check out Veil of Maya. They're pretty good.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've listened to them.
I honestly started listening to them like probably less than 2 months ago. Um, but they're good. They're really good. You should check them out.
Nice.
Music is like my passion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I always say music was my first love.
Yeah, music is still my first love and my only love, to be honest.
I'm in my movie exploration era,
Oh,
but
yeah. I'm in my video game exploration era right
oh
now.
my gosh.
I'm not doing well. I'm not finding a lot of games that I like.
Oh my gosh, for real?
It's
What do you like anime or anything like
I
that?
l I love anime. I've watched anime since I was in the 4th grade.
Have you tried any of the, like, anime video games?
Those are the ones I typically like, but
Okay, yeah, that's what I like.
they're not like the fighting ones, though. I don't like, I bought the Tokyo Ghoul one. That was the only, like, fighting game that I bought that was, like, an anime game, but also fighting that I liked. I typically like the story mode ones, so, like,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
um, Persona, those games,
Oh, yeah. I've been playing Tales games, like Tales of
mhm,
Zestiria, Tales of Berseria,
mhm.
those
I
games.
I don't know how to explain my type of video games. Like, I just finished one game that I literally finished in 2 days, and it was not supposed to be finished in 2 days, but I was so obsessed with it. Um, it's embarrassing to say the name of it. It was an anime game, though. Um, but, like, do you know what Stardew Valley is?
Yeah.
Stardew Valley is my favorite game. I have
Okay.
collectively over my Xbox, my Nintendo Switch, my phone, and my computer, I have over 4,000 hours on Stardew Valley. Yeah, it's bad.
I don't think I have played anything for 4,000 hours.
It's it was bad. During COVID, Stardew Valley was my only friend. So,
Gotcha.
it
Okay,
was
so I have a question for you.
okay, okay,
So looking at your channel and everything,
okay.
I would like to ask, what is your favorite I don't wanna use the word category. What's
Mhm.
your favorite category
What's my favorite
in
category of dark stuff?
the realms of, like, the paranormal or mysteries or any
Serial
of your other.
killers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Serial
yeah, that's the
killers.
other one.
100%. Serial killers
Okay.
are, like serial killers are, just the minds, the way that people work, and, like, it's kinda disturbing and gross what a person can do to someone, but it's fascinating. Like, it's fascinating to read about what people do, but at the same time, it just reminds you of how bad people can actually be, but it makes you aware, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, if you're going on a jog by yourself at 3 AM and you don't know anything about kidnappings, you don't listen to podcasts, you don't listen to anything like that, or don't know anything like that, or what people can do, you're not gonna think, "Oh, maybe on the top of this bridge, someone's holding a brick to drop on me." And then you're listening to a podcast and you're like, "Oh, that's a potential. Someone could potentially do that," and you don't wanna go on a run at 3 AM anymore.
Yeah, I
But,
totally know
like,
what you mean.
not only that, it's just, like, so fascinating how disturbed people's minds can work. Because with paranormal, there's the thing of actions and can cause effect, and it's the same thing in the minds of serial killers. Actions cause an effect. Most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, these brutal killers have backstory, and that's not something that you should necessarily pity them for, because there's how many billions of people on this earth, and I'm sure someone's story is more traumatic than the others. That doesn't make them a serial killer. But the way that it has affected people's minds and the way that for example, if you put Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy together, they had two completely different methods of killing. They were still very successful serial killers. Why? Why did it take them so long to get caught? Why did it's the questions of why, how, when, where that drives you to an answer. And a thing with paranormal that almost bugs me is that you're not always going to get an answer. You're not going to get an
Mhm.
answer for everything. And I'm one of those people that I don't like learning about space because space doesn't have an answer. You don't have an explanation for why the star exploded. It just exploded because these gases built up, it exploded. You don't know why it exploded. Are those gases there in the first place? You don't know the same thing with paranormal. Why were the ghosts there in the first place? You can have the assumptions like yes, in the Lizzie Borden house, there's the Lizzie Borden song, there's the proof, there's the things that happened, and then there's the ghost that came after. But are those actually ghosts or are they just people feeding into the energy? Like I had an interview with Becky Ann and she kind of said something that didn't necessarily change my mind, but made me realize that, like, that's closer to what I believe in the sense of people can put your energy into something and you can get something back. So, like,
Mm,
you're convinced that there's a ghost in the room, you're gonna start hearing weird ticks of the clock, or you're gonna hear the fridge run, and you're gonna think it's someone walking and stuff like that. But you're putting that energy out there.
I think
And
about that too. Like if you're
yeah,
asking the spirit box a question and you end
yeah,
your question with a question mark, you're listening for a
yeah.
response.
It's if you feed into something enough, you're gonna believe it, or it's gonna become real. It's almost like I
Like
don't
a
know what it's
tulpa.
called. Like a what?
A tulpa.
Kinda, yeah. Like you just if you feed an animal, the animal's gonna get bigger. If you like
Mm,
that's the best way to explain it. But serial killers and not even necessarily just serial killers, like murderers in general, just the entire bit of humanity kind of changes once you take someone else's life, and it fascinates me. Not in the sense of like, oh my god, that's so cool, but like, why did you do that? Like, genuinely, why?
and what did that really feel like for you?
Yeah. What did you gain from it too? Like, this person's gone, but they're gone from hundreds of other people's lives as well. Like, what
Mm.
did you really gain? Because nowadays it's not that hard just to block someone or even move and never see them or contact them again. Like, it's not hard for someone to disappear out of your life anymore. And I can like there's is struggles that can stop that, but if something ever progressed and they were getting mean or you didn't have a choice or you're in an abusive relationship and well, not even necessarily abusive relationship, but like if there is an instance where you just cannot get this person away and you don't feel like your life's in danger, but you just can't get this person away, or you just see someone walking down the street and you think that you want them gone, just keep walking. Just don't look at them. If you look at them and you're like, oh, that stranger would be pretty to do whatever this to, don't do it. Just keep walking. They're a stranger. You don't know their name. You don't know anything about them. There's no point, but like it's fascinating how people would still do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I
I kind of
totally
went
feel
for a
you.
while.
I
Oops.
like true crime too, but I do it like in small doses, I guess, most of the
Yeah.
time.
I'm definitely not as big of a true crime person as I used to be. Like, talk to me 2 years ago and I could tell you every single thing about the latest 15 murder cases. But now I like the old stuff, like the stuff from the early 1900s, the 1800s. I like the old stuff.
Cool.
An old
Cool.
person. Um, what's a topic that like you're fascinated with?
I would say that I like pretty much all facets of the paranormal,
Mhm.
except for UFO paperwork. I don't care about that paperwork,
That
like
is
the
true.
government declassified
Oh,
papers.
yeah.
But what I am really fascinated with is magic.
Magic is interesting. Magic is a good one.
Yeah.
Magic is something that has been used as an excuse to a lot throughout history. And like not even in the sense of like me just trying to say that magic isn't real, but like I mean, if someone has a heart attack in the middle of the street, oh my god, and like if you took someone from the Victorian era and put them in today's modern life, they'd think everything is magic and the devil.
Yep.
And like it gets so confused because even now like people the witches that you see on TikTok, I'm sure that like over half of them believe what they believe. People like, but at the same time, it's the internet. But you get the people on TikTok who are feeding you things that they know. And granted, it's not like a bad source, but I don't know. I feel like when you're researching something like magic, it should be something that like you have like books for, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. People need to read books.
Books. Yes, people need to read books 100%. And, like, a lot of our stuff, like, comes from what people used to think magic was. Like,
Right. Like what
if you
science
got
fiction was.
right, like, if you got shocked by something a super long time ago, they'd be like, "Oh my god, I just had a lightning bolt shot through my finger by this magical wizard in a tower." And now you're like, "Oh, it's static electricity."
Right.
Like, it's magic is a component that people all throughout time has not figured out. We can't figure out what magic is. There's not a definite thing for magic. If it's just something unexplainable, we list it into
Yeah.
a category.
And I myself, I love unsolved things.
Mhm.
So kind of like what
Yeah.
you were saying, and some things there's just no resolution for, but I
Right.
kind of like that because it just
Mhm.
makes my brain go crazy.
Mhm. Mine when my brain goes crazy, when I think about something that doesn't have an ending, I go crazy. Not in the, like, "Oh, my brain's working," but, like, "Oh my god, why can't I figure this out?" But,
I know my brain keeps trying too.
yeah. It's like you just sit there so puzzled.
Like there's got to be an answer.
Yeah. I do that with, like, stuff that has an answer, except I, like, change the timeline. Like, I change one little important detail and try to figure out the timeline to the end. So I know that the thing actually happened, it's just, "What if?" You know?
Alternate reality.
Yeah. Alternate reality. Um,
I also
yeah.
really like ghosts. I really like ghosts,
Ghosts are cool.
whatever they are.
Ghosts are cool. You know the thing that I was saying about, like, how if you put your energy into something, you get something back, and how there's,
Hmm.
like, replays almost? I watched a documentary a few days ago, and it was a ghost documentary, and it was about, like, the cemetery and how, like, sometimes there's, like, people can see, like, a chariot and her and, like, horses, like, walking down the, like, road or something, and they were talking about how sometimes the ghosts that you see are just images or replays imprinted into the ground, reflecting back with energy. So in the sense, kinda like magic, but it's the earth replaying an image because it happens so many times. Like, if 100 chariots go down the same road multiple times a day in the 1600s, it might replay once or twice or even a few
Hmm.
more times throughout centuries because it happened so many times in one day for years. You've got the impression on the ground, the impression on the trees and everything around it. It could just replay.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
my
So
opinion.
I don't think ghosts are as simple as it's always just a
No.
dead person doing
No.
something intentionally.
No, and I think a lot of people get ghost also confused with evil. Like, you can tell when something's evil, but at the same time, it's so easy in us as us simple humans to mistake something for bad and us not know and think it's just a little spirit box telling us little random words.
And not to mention, we ask terrible
Yeah.
questions like,
We
do you want to hurt us?
like,
Yes or no?
we're just straight up saying, "Is anyone here?" If you just talk, you're probably gonna get something back. It doesn't matter what you say, but, like, it's ghosts are confusing. Ghosts confuse
I
no one,
know.
and there's no proof that ghosts are here, even though we've had hundreds of thousands of millions of things of proof laid out in front of us. S
You can't
People
do
still don't
anything
believe it.
with it.
No. It's, like, down to a matter of people, like, writing about ghosts, like, hundreds of years ago, and we're still like, "No, can be disproven." Not
Everyone's
until
been
science
wrong for hundreds
do.
of years.
Yeah, if everything can be disproven, there wouldn't be people like us on the internet. So, yeah. Is there any more questions?
Um, can I ask you another question?
If you want to, yeah.
Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
Yes.
Do you
Uh,
want to talk about it?
do you want me to talk about it? I
Yes.
definitely can. So, I don't know how old I was. I was younger than 11. Older than 5, younger than 11. Um, and I had some family that lived up on this mountain. I still have a lot of family that live on this mountain, but my great-grandmother lived in the house on the very, very top of the mountain. And the way that you get down it, it's kinda just like a straight road. Like, it's not completely straight, but it's just a little gravel road that leads you down, not the full mountain, but down this, like, neighborhood. Because my grandmother's at the top, and then it just kinda circles all the way down of, like, houses, but they weren't fancy houses. They were, like, really old houses. Like, my great-grandma's house has been there since, like, 1860 something. So it's, like, a super old house. And this giant tree that's been in front of her house since before the house was like made. But if you go a little bit down the mountain, there's this church that's also been there since like the town was established. Um, I don't really know the name of the church. It's a really small church, and my cousins lived the house down from it. And so one night I was walking to my cousin's house, and I'm just chilling with my cousins outside, and my cousins weren't allowed at the church anymore. It was because they had been like caught in the parking lot at night, like throwing rocks on the ground or something, but they weren't allowed at the church anymore. But they never went to the church anyways because they were scared of the church, even though they were never given a reason. And we're all around the same age. So I'm anywhere between the age of like 6 and 10. And my cousins are like a year or two older, or a year or two younger. Like we're all around the same age. And we made this like little makeshift Ouija board, but it didn't work. And then right as we went to throw it away, my cousin was like, "Do you see that?" And I looked in the window of the church and the curtains had a face. It wasn't like it wasn't like a shadow of a face on the curtains, and it wasn't like there was a face looking through the curtains or on top of the curtains or in front of the curtains. It was like the curtain itself, the folds in the curtain made the shape of a face. And me and my cousins were just kind of like, "What?" Because it didn't move. It didn't move. We didn't get bad feelings from it, but it was very clearly a face. It was like the curtains that drape like that, and then it's got the thing that goes down.
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
part was made into a face. And we didn't
Oh.
know why, and I didn't think anything of it because I was just like, "That's really weird." And little me was like, "Whatever." And so I walked back, was walking back, and it's a good walk. It's not like a 15-minute walk, but it's like a 10-minute walk. But it's just a straight shot to the house. Like there's nothing that I have to climb over or make turns. It's just straight. And I'm walking out of my cousin's, I'm walking past the church. The church is right here, and I'm like about right here from it. And I just started hearing screaming, and it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I shouldn't have been walking because this is on top of a mountain, and my uncle was that I was with was like asleep. But I was walking and I just heard like this ungodly curdling scream coming from behind me. And I was like, "Don't turn around." And I kept walking. And I just kept walking, and I started like sprinting, but I wasn't running, I was sprinting. And then I just heard like horses, like not horses neighing, but like the gallop of horses behind me. And I
Mm.
still just like, "Don't turn around, don't turn around." And then I heard the scream again. And I was for some reason I thought my cousin was behind me, like she was watching me from her house for whatever reason. And I turned around and I saw this like woman. Like she didn't really have a face. It was just kind of like a shadow. But it was this woman, and she was in like a wedding dress, but it wasn't a modern dress. Like re-looking at it in my head, it definitely like was not anything modern, and it had like stained blood on it, but not blood that you would see like, if you see like the wedding ladies in like scary movies and they're like covered in blood. It wasn't like that. It was like she had drops of dried blood on her. Like she wasn't covered in blood. She didn't have it like dripping from her neck or from her stomach. She just had little drops of brown blood on her dress. And I was like, and so I just started running. And I just sprinted towards my grandmother's house, and I just saw my uncle as I'm going to bed, and I went to bed, and I didn't talk about it. And I told my cousin the next day. My cousin was like, "Okay, let's go talk to your aunt about it," because my aunt's lived there for like years, and I know that she did some crazy stuff when she lived there because I found a super old Ouija board in the attic, and my aunt said that was hers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I like told my aunt the next day after I told my cousin, because my cousin believed me. My cousin like undoubtedly was like, "That church is crazy," because the lady was standing right outside of the church parking lot. Because the way it was like the road, like road, trees, parking lot, church, road. And so she was right on the road, like facing, well, not facing the church, but facing me beside the church. And I didn't really tell my aunt what happened. I just kind of asked her if she knows anything about the church because I knew it was super old. And if anyone knows, it's going to be the old lady that lives here. So I asked her, and I don't know if this is real or not, But she told me a story, and I don't remember all the details, but it was about a woman getting married there, and she got stood up on her wedding day, and her husband killed her, or she killed her husband. But there was something with, like, horses, someone dying, but she got stood up on her wedding day. And that she told me the whole story, but I don't really remember. And that's why I was like, "Oh, cool, so I saw her ghost. Awesome." But other than that, it's just been, like, I've heard spoons move in the kitchen when I'm standing in the kitchen, like, in the drawer, I hear them moving, but, like, I'm in the kitchen. It's nothing never really been anything else like that. Every time I have gone up to where my great-grandmother lived, I've never felt right. Like, I don't like going upstairs in her house. There's no particular reason. Like, I took my boyfriend up there a few months ago, and he was like, "I don't wanna be up here."
Oh my gosh.
That's fair. Um, I also know there was a lot of, like, slave stuff that happened there, like and not even, like, the slave stuff that happened in the US, like, the natives taking slaves there, 'cause there's a lot of native land there that's no longer native.
Mm.
And, like, the entire family not the entire family, the entire mountain is pretty much just my family that lives up there, and all of them know. And, like, all of them are very open about, like, the weird stuff that happens there, or the weird things that happened on the land there. And there's also, like, a waterfall that's in walking distance from it's on the mountain, but it's in walking distance from, like, the little town. And that's where they, like, brought up the slavery stuff. And, like, there's these weird markings on the waterfall because you can walk on the top of the waterfall, and then you can hike down, and down you can, like, swim and stuff. But there's this, like, weird engravings, and I don't know what they are. They just kinda look like someone took something and just chiseled lines down stone. But it's because the waterfall's here, and then the engravings are, like, up against the wall, but it's, like, in a divot inside, but you can't get up there. Like, there's no physical way for a person to get up there to carve it, but it looks like there's carvings there. But other than that, that's my paranormal experience.
That's incredible
Yeah,
and terrifying.
whenever someone asks me if I've had a paranormal experience, I'm like, "Yes, I get to tell my story."
You have a beautiful story, though I'm sorry you had to experience that.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't anything bad. I mean, I definitely heard the, like, horse hooves multiple times after that, but I never saw her again. I never saw faces in the church window. Also, I've never
Aw.
been inside the church. For as many of times and as many of months that I've spent at my great-grandma's house, I have never been inside that church.
You should go visit a Sunday service.
I don't think I should. I'm, like, honestly scared, and if my cousins saw me go into that church, they'd be like, "Nevaeh, what are you doing?" Yeah. 'Cause, like, even to this day, the few cousins that I do keep in contact with because they're the only ones that know, and for some reason, it gets brought up every time that we talk, but they've also never been inside the church. They don't have any motivation to go. Like, their dad goes to that church,
Oh
and
my gosh.
they have no motivation to even step foot inside. It's
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I've heard, like, the horse hooves, like, I can instinctively hear them right now, but, like, I never saw anything else. And, like,
Wow.
I've also heard screams from the woods, but that, granted, could also be just a bunch of high school boys that used to live up there that would going into the woods and, like, drinking beer and getting crazy in the woods at night. So,
That's fair.
yeah, because, like, there had been so many times that, like, these boys that I don't even know would just drive up to me and be like, "You wanna go in the woods and hunt for whatever?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm, like, 13, get away from me." And they were like but that could also very be potentially the screaming could have just been someone who lived there, but the woman is unexplainable. I I can literally picture every single part of her but her face because her face was literally just a shadow. Because it was dark. I was walking back to the house at, like, 9 PM, if not later. So, like, there was no one with me, it was pitch black, there was no street lights, the only lights were from the houses and the church. So,
I'm gonna have nightmares. Oh, because 'cause
I'm
I'm on
sorry.
Nevaeh's
Oh, you're
nightmare.
on Nevaeh's nightmare. I hope everyone gets nightmares when they watch me. Just keep me in your dreams. Okay, I'm
That should
gonna
be what
wrap
you sign off with.
that's what I plan. Have you had any paranormal experiences?
Not really, just a couple.
Mhm.
One thing that really sticks out is I was sleeping in a house by myself. It was my husband's rental house, but he was gone. All the roommates were gone. It was just me.
Mhm.
And it's a very old house
Mhm.
and pretty small. And this was when I was in college. So I woke up at like 1 a.m. to go to the bathroom. And then when I came back to the bed, I was about to get in the bed and I heard bam, bam, bam on the wall, like above the bed. It
Oh.
sounded like an open hand slap on the wall.
Like someone was just on the wall?
Yeah, just like 3
Oh,
slams.
3. We love to see the 3. We love to
It's
hear the 3.
automatically evil.
Yeah, we hear
So
3 and we just think no.
I ran out the front door
Okay.
and I was like, someone is out here messing with me. Um, and there were some people like across the street that were walking down the street. And I was like, was that you? I just like
Just,
yelled at
like,
them and
screaming at strangers.
they're like,
Who is this
what?
lady?
Anyway, I don't I won't explain all of it, but
Mhm.
basically, it's very unlikely that there was someone in the back of the house in the dark, knowing
Oh,
exactly where the bed was and where to slam on the outside of the house.
yeah.
And I stayed outside till my husband got home. But also in that same house, nobody would stay in there alone. And I tried, but it didn't work. None. There were 6 people that lived in that house, and nobody would stay in there alone.
So, did you, like, not go back inside until your husband got home?
Correct.
Was it just, like, a feeling of, like, "I shouldn't go back in there"?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I thought I just felt threatened.
Mhm.
It was a very, like, forceful slapping. It just didn't seem
Yeah.
like anyone, whether it was a ghost or a person, it felt
Yeah.
threatening.
I feel like in those instances, because I'm the type of person where, like, if I hear something creepy or if someone's telling me something creepy, your reaction is gonna determine whether or not what you heard was valid or how you, like, feel is valid. Because if you heard the 3 things on the wall and you left the house and you went back in and just went to bed and you didn't hear anything else again, then it's just yeah, who knows what it could have been. It could have been, like, rats knocking pillars over in the wall, who knows? But in my head, if you hear things and your instinct is to leave, right? You hear something creepy, it scares you, your instinct is to run. But
Mhm, run right out the house.
right, if you run and there's something telling you, like, "Don't go back in," because I'm guessing you were just going to bed, right?
Mhm.
Why wouldn't you just wanna, like, go back to bed after hearing something like that? Like, go to sleep and forget about it, or, like, at least try to sleep, but there was something that was keeping you from going back in the house.
You're right, I am not the only person that's been sitting on the front stoop waiting for someone else to get home at that house. Now
That's
that you
even
mention
more
it.
That's even more terrifying. Like, and the fact that no one says anything either. It's just you get home and someone's waiting for you outside because they didn't wanna be inside.
I'll tell you one more thing about that house.
Crazy.
My husband was getting home one day.
Mhm.
There was after work, there was nobody else in the house, but he went to go stick his key in the lock, and he heard these footsteps inside the house stomping away, like running away from the door down the hallway.
That's
Like, boom,
terrifying.
boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, just like someone running away.
And there's nobody in there.
That's terrifying,
He was like,
actually.
"I'm just not gonna go inside."
See, that's another thing though. Like, if there's something where, like, you like, just don't go back inside, because like, I'm guessing you guys were staying there for the time, so why wouldn't he just, go inside? Like, if it's just something that spooked you, you're like, "Oh, whatever," and you just open the door and it's gone, you just go throughout your day. But if you deliberately choose to not go back inside after just hearing a sound,
Yeah, there's more to it. You can't just
yeah,
logic your way out of it because there's something
yeah,
else going on.
that's
That's a good
crazy.
observation.
Yeah, that's how I react to things. If I hear random things in the house and I get creeped out and then I can proceed to do whatever I want and I'm not bothered, then I take it as it was nothing. But like
Yeah.
if I go to my friend's house and I'm vividly bothered by something and it is something very subtle that I would brush away at my own spot and my where I'm in my own place, then I get a little concerned. Oh, I just remembered another paranormal experience I have, but I don't know if you would consider it paranormal. It was more of just like weird, but too convenient.
Okay.
So I was at my friend Alyssa's house, and I've known Alyssa since the 6th grade. So we've been friends for like a really long time. And I had heard from her uncle, and from a few of her other friends who like she didn't know told me this that like her house was weird. Her house had weird vibes. Her and her uncle used to straight up tell me that their house was haunted. But like, are you gonna go to someone's house? They're gonna be like, "My house is haunted," and you're like, "Oh my god, your house is haunted." Like, are you? No, you're not gonna believe it. And I had been over to her house so many times, and I had gotten weird vibes from certain areas in the house, but I never like thought of it any further. And her uncle was his like area in the house was the garage. He loved the garage. And one day I went over there and he just quit staying in the garage. Like he took all of his stuff out. He started staying upstairs and I didn't know why. And Alyssa had told me it was because he said he saw a little girl in the garage. And she wasn't talking. He tried to talk to it and it just stared at her and disappeared. And I was like, okay, whatever. He's like a crazy guy. Who cares? And then one day me and Alyssa had the bright idea that I was gonna buy an Ouija board and I was gonna bring it over. So I bought an Ouija board and my grandma was like, yeah, have fun, whatever. And I bring it to Alyssa's house and Alyssa's like, "Oh my god, let's play." Like we're little like 12-year-olds, 12, 13-year-olds. We're like, "Oh my god, we're about to play the Ouija board we've never played before. We're going to talk to some ghosts, maybe talk to some demons." And I was fairly big for like a 12, 13-year-old to be into the stuff that I'm in now, but at the same time it wasn't to an extent. Like I didn't really know about the different types of demons. I just knew that demons existed and they sometimes messed with people. Like I didn't really know much. I knew that ghosts were a thing and ghosts could manipulate things and Ouija boards, ghosts or demons can like talk to you by moving it. And Alyssa was like, let's go to the laundry room. Let's do this in the laundry room. The laundry room and the garage were connected because her uncle specifically told us, do not do it in the garage. We tried sneaking to the garage and he wouldn't let us. So we did it in the laundry room that was connected to the garage. And we had the garage door open and we're playing it. We're just doing whatever. And you know how you can tell when someone moves the planchette? Like people are like, "Oh my god, you moved it," but you can tell when someone actually moved it, or you can tell when someone even has their fingers on it. I was doing the little thing where like you do like that, so you're barely touching it, and Alyssa wasn't even touching it. She was like hovering like that. And we're like, if anyone's here, please talk to us. And like no one was responding. And then all of a sudden it just went Z-O-Z-O. And I was like, Zozo. So that's like a demon. And they're like, okay, whatever. And then we closed it. And like we did a little thing where we ended it. We blew out the candles. We put it back in the box. We're like, we're not messing with that. If it is anything bad or if it was just one of our brains making it move, we're not messing with it. And her uncle left. Her mom was already gone. We went upstairs to watch a movie and we were also babysitting this like really big dog. And the dog left the room. I don't know why. And it was at the foot of the stair, not the foot of the stairs, the top of the stairs, just looking down. And I was trying to get it to come back and it wouldn't come back. It just kept staring and staring down the stairs. And so I went over to go grab it. And I wasn't familiar with the dog and neither was my friend. And I go and I like hold her by a collar and I'm like, what you doing? And I look down the stairs and I just see something pink fly across, like just shoot across the room. And I was like, and I immediately started screaming for my friend. I was like, please get down here, please. And so while she was getting her stuff together to come downstairs because she's slow, I ran down the stairs and it was like a beanie. It was like a hot pink beanie with like frozen on it, just like flew across the room. And I was like, this like doesn't make sense because I was holding it in my hand by the time Alyssa got downstairs. And she was like, where'd you get that from? It's like it was like, what are you talking about? Like what are you talking about? Where'd I get this from? Because I wasn't going to tell her what happened yet. And she goes, that was in my mom's room. Because the beanie was her baby sister's, and her baby sister's stuff is in her mom's room. And she goes, that was in my mom's room. And might I add, no one else was in the house. And me and my friend were upstairs with this dog. And then when I went to go get the dog, my friend was still upstairs. Like it took her forever to come downstairs in my mind. And I was like, well, I just watched this fly across the room. And she was like, what are you talking about? And then the dog peed on the floor right as I said that. Like,
Oh my god.
still at the top of the stairs. Like, it never came down. And me and my friend are sitting at the bottom of the stairs holding this beanie, like, so confused because it's a hot pink frozen Elsa beanie. And the dog just pops a squat, pees on the top of the stairs, still doesn't come down, and then starts crying and runs to
Oh.
my friend's room. And then me and my friend immediately, like, broke into her grandmother's, like, her grandmother was like a super religious Catholic woman. And so we like opened a box of her stuff and we just got the holy water and just started putting it in places. But like I know that's probably not the most efficient thing to do, but like we're 12 and 13, like
I
not
think that
knowing
was smart.
what to do. Yeah, like we're like, okay, grab the holy water. We don't understand what's happening, just grab the holy water. And but yeah, that's it. That's the only other like intense experience I've had.
I love it. I love Ouija board stories.
I've only played the Ouija board that time and then one other time in my room when it didn't work. So that was the only time I've ever like used my Ouija board and I like gained anything from it. Or in
You
reality,
met Zozo.
I met Zozo and apparently he likes Frozen.
Didn't they make a movie about Zozo?
I'm sure that they did. I know that they made movies that have had Zozo in it. I
That's
don't know if
cool.
they've made. Wasn't there like a Conjuring movie that had Zozo in it? Or not directly Zozo, but like a demon that was supposed to be him. It wasn't The Conjuring. It was like something that had. Was it Insidious? It was the
I
one where it
couldn't
had like.
tell you.
I couldn't tell you which movie it is either, but he's like up in the wall and he's got a black and red face and he's like. Rawr.
Yeah, I think that's Insidious.
I think it is Insidious. I think that he was supposed to be like based off of Zozo, or he was supposed to be. I just know that he has some correlation to Zozo. I don't fully remember, but yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
will
I talk a lot.
be leaving here with nightmares.
I'm sorry. This is just my daily occurrence. Um, I mean, I've also had like a few creepy things happen in like the funeral home that I used to work in, but it's not anything like that. It was like the chapel doors, like they caught a breeze and they like did that and it scared me. Or like sometimes the like doors leading into the building, like the push doors, they would like rattle the metal part, but I think that was just like the wind hitting them and them rattling. But things that like creep you out because you're in a funeral home and you're like, oh, that's scary. And you're like, it's literally just the wind.
Right.
I've never had an experience at the funeral, any funeral homes that's like scared me, or like it was the thing that I was saying earlier, where if you have a reaction that's like you don't have an explanation for why you reacted that way, like if you just walk out of the house and stay out of the house and you don't really know why. I've never had that in like a funeral home. It's always just like, oh, that scared me. It's fine. It's the wind.
Yeah.
It's an old building.
Yeah, a lot of times I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with that, so I'm just going to continue doing what I was doing before.
Right. But if you leave your house and don't come back in, it's just like, why did I not go back in?
I really like that distinction. I'm going to look at things differently now.
This is the way you gotta look at them. Everything's a question.
That's beautiful.
Thanks. I'm not trying to be like super dark and sweet at the same time. Is there any more questions you would like to ask me, or you would like me to ask you?
I think that I'm good. Maybe we can do this again though.
We can. I enjoyed this. I like talking to you.
I like talking to you too. I feel like it went really just natural.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching Nevaeh's Nightmare. Where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube if you type in Katie of the Night. That's Katie. And everything else you might be interested in is linked in my bio.
All right. And make sure to check out her horror movies on, what was the channel's name again?
Oh, yeah. Laughing Windows Productions.
Laughing Windows Productions. Make sure you check out her stuff. It sounds awesome. She's a super cool person. And I'm very excited to talk to you again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what other questions you want me to ask. Thank you so much.